Jai Gurudev and Hari Om. Let's begin. Om. Om. Nandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadi Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Shruti-smriti-purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharya Keshavam Badarayana Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashiva-samarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam Vande Guru-paramparam Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. So we ended yesterday over here. It is a summary of the first 3 chapters. And today we'll begin with chapter 4. I'll just read the last one. Evam buddhi param buddhva samstabhyatmanam jahi shatrum mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. O mighty armed one, Arjuna, knowing that which is superior to the intellect in this way, having made the mind steady with the buddhi, destroy the enemy that is in the form of desire, that which is so difficult to understand. One must step out of one's buddhi by recognizing that which is above the buddhi, the Atma, which is ever pure, Shuddha, limitless, Ananda, full, Purna, the only reality, Satya. Knowing this Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, this Brahmatma, you are free. Once you have this knowledge, all your desires, all your thoughts become privileges only. Your mind, your thoughts, your buddhi, all of them become so many adjuncts or upadhis for you. In themselves, these upadhis are limited, but the person is free from any sense of limitation. Hence, for such a person, the desires become a privilege. Kama, desire, is not something that can be easily understood because it comes in 100 different forms and in situations where you would never expect it. But karma can be given up in the sense that you can step out of it. Then the desires are simply known to you. They cannot harm you. This is the only way to deal with karma because there is no end to the desires that can arise. Thus, step out and be free because you are already free. You need only discover this fact. Chapter 4, Knowledge and the Renunciation of Action. Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. The origins of Karma Yoga. In the first 3 verses of the 4th chapter, Krishna sums up the subject matter of Karma Yoga by indicating to Arjuna that it is not something new. Krishna, as the Lord, had initiated it in the beginning of creation, and since then, Karma Yoga has been handed down from generation to generation, even though it has not always been well preserved. To become a sannyasi requires a mature and contemplative disposition. You cannot simply decide to be mature or contemplative. Either you are or you are not. What you can do, however, is to live your life in such a way that you can gain a contemplative disposition. This is Karma Yoga. In order to gain self-knowledge, which is moksha or liberation, you have to recognize your nature as being free from action, as that which is the very center of the entire creation, the reality of everything. Just give me a minute. In order to gain self-knowledge, which is moksha or liberation, you have to recognize your nature as being free from action, as that which is the very center of the entire creation, the reality of everything. And in order for this recognition to take place, you can live a life of sannyasa or a life of karma yoga. Karma yoga is engaging yourself in activities with the proper attitude. Pravritti lakshanaha yogaha. And sannyasa or jnana yoga is the renunciation of all activities. Nivritti lakshanaha sannyasaha. Thus, nivritti lakshana jnana yoga is for the sannyasis and pravritti lakshana yoga, karma yoga, is for everyone else. This twofold yoga is all that is intended to be unfolded throughout the Gita. In fact, Krishna had already completed the teaching in the 2nd and 3rd chapters. Knowing that he had taught all that had to be taught, Krishna now praises this yoga, telling Arjuna that what he had taught him was something very old, introduced by himself as Ishvara in the very beginning, meaning in the Veda. From teacher to student, sampradaya. In order to convey that this knowledge is something that is to be gained from a teacher by a student, who in turn hands it down to another student, a story is told. In understanding realities, it really does not matter who told whom. Nevertheless, certain names are mentioned. The flow downward from one generation to another is called sampradaya. This sampradaya is important because this teaching has to be handled by someone who knows what it is all about. Therefore, the sampradaya is always introduced either in the beginning or at the end of the text. Seeing the dialogue reaching a certain completeness, Krishna presents the sampradaya and praises the knowledge. Shri Bhagavan Imam vivasvate yogam proktavanaham avyayam vivasvan manave praha manurikshva kave bravit evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha said, Aham, I, Vivasvate, to Vivasvan, Imam, this Avyayam, imperishable, Yogam, yoga, Proktavan, told or taught, Vivasvan, Manave, to Manu, Praha, told or taught, Manu, Ikshvakave, to Ikshvaku, Abravid, told or taught, Evam, in this manner, Parampara Praptam, handed down from generation to generation, Imam, this Rajarshayah, the king who were sages, the kings who were sages, Viduhu knew, Parantapa, O scorcher of enemies, Arjuna, Iha in this world, Saha that, Yogaha yoga, Mahata Mahat, Mahata Kalena, over a long time, Nashtaha declined. I'm just going to read the whole Pratipadartha in a sentence. Sri Bhagavan Vacha said, Aham Vivasvate imam avyayam yogam proktavan Vivasvan manave praha Manu ikshvakave abravit evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayah viduhu parantapa iha saha yoga mahata kalena nashtaha. Sri Bhagavan said, I taught this imperishable yoga to Vivasvan. Vivasvan taught it to Manu, and Manu taught it to Ikshvaku. Handed down from generation to generation in this way, the kings who were sages knew it. But with the long lapse of time, O Arjuna, this yoga has declined in the world. Here Krishna tells Arjuna that he was the one who had introduced this knowledge in the Vedas in the beginning itself, meaning along with the creation, through Vivasvan, the head of the solar clan, Surya Vamsha. There was another clan, the lunar clan, Chandra Vamsha. The Mahabharata was an epic about the lunar clan, and the Ramayana was about the solar clan. Vivasvan also is a name given to the sun as a deity, the Lord Sun. Krishna is saying here that this knowledge has come down from Ishvara alone, referring to himself as the Lord. It is not something that is created by a given intellect, nor is it mere speculation. It is the knowledge that comes down from Ishvara, along with the creation itself. The difference between this knowledge and the other revealed bodies of knowledge is that it is something to be recognized. It is knowledge that I am the whole. Any other form of revelation requires you to believe something. Some kind of a promise is always given, if only with reference to an afterlife. However, in the knowledge that I am the whole, there is no promise involved. The statement, you are that, Tat Tvam Asi, is not a promise. That you are Brahman is a simple statement of fact, just as the statement, water is H2O and it boils at 100 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure is a fact and not a promise. Because it is a statement of fact, you are Brahman is something that is to be understood. A statement of fact is verifiable knowledge. It is not something to be believed, as in the case in other forms of revealed bodies of knowledge. We must know, however, that these other revelations are also talking about the same reality. Thus, there is no problem. It is all the Lord's knowledge, because knowledge is not something that belongs to any one particular person or culture. We say that it is Ishvara's knowledge. This twofold yoga, sannyasa and karma yoga, was initiated by Krishna, that is Ishvara, in the beginning, through Vivasvan, the head of the solar clan. Therefore, he says, Vivasvate aham proktavan. Lord Sun is introduced here to convey the idea that this particular knowledge comes from Ishvara. Then, by the grace of Lord Sun, it was handed over to his son Manu, who was the first king, the lawgiver for humanity. Manu taught his own son Ikshvaku in turn. Self-knowledge does not go away. And what kind of yoga is it? This yoga, this knowledge is Avyaya Yoga because it gives you that which does not die, meaning moksha, liberation. Moksha is the only thing that does not go away because it is identical with the Atma, which is eternal. It is knowledge of the Atma. Moksha gain is gain forever. In his commentary on this verse, Shankara says that this moksha, the result of this yoga, is in the form of clear vision of the Atma. Samyak darshana nishtha, for which there is no death, vyaya at all. Once the knowledge is gained, it is gained. This moksha is not something from which you come back, like the experience of nirvikalpa samadhi. Because with this knowledge, the jivatva, the notion of being a limited individual, is destroyed. Once gained, there is no coming back, which is why the knowledge is called avyaya. In the second verse, addressing Arjuna as Parantapa, the destroyer of enemies, Krishna says, in this way, the knowledge has been coming down through the families of kings, as well as through the families of sages, rishis. Thus, there are two types of flow through which this knowledge is transmitted from one generation to the other. Because of this knowledge alone, Shankara says that kings like Janaka were able to perform their duties well without abusing the royal powers entrusted to them. Power and understanding should go together, along with a certain contentment. The more powerful a person is, the more informed he or she should be. Otherwise, those who come within his or her realm have had it. Thus, this knowledge was introduced by Ishvara to give the kings the strength. Bala adhyanaya, needed to rule the world properly. There being no greater strength than the Atma Bala, that is, the strength of understanding oneself. Not only the heads of royal families had this knowledge and passed it down from father to son, but also the sages living in the forests also had it. They taught it to their students, who in turn taught it to their students throughout the generations. Krishna could see the wonder in Arjuna's eyes as he was unfolding this knowledge to him. It was as though Arjuna was asking, how is it that I did not know this before? Why did I not receive this knowledge while I was growing up? I was taught archery. I was taught what is right and wrong. But this I was not taught. Why? When a person hears this knowledge for the first time, he or she often expresses the same wonder. How could I have missed something so obvious? Although great sages like Vyasa and Shuka lived in Arjuna's time, this knowledge that Krishna had given to Arjuna was not readily available. Since only a few people knew of it, it was as though it was lost. Everyone else was busy with other things. In other words, the Duryodhanas of the world were too numerous and people had no time for the knowledge. This is why Krishna tells Arjuna that although this knowledge sounded new and strange to him, there was nothing new or strange about it. It has been around since the beginning, the same old wisdom, same good old wisdom, and I am merely presenting it to you today as it has always been. It seems strange to you only because you have not yet had the occasion to listen to it. Krishna anticipates that Arjuna's next question would be, why did you choose to teach me today and not before? Therefore, he says, Sa evayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. Me, my, bhaktaha, devotee, sakha, friend, and asi, you are. Iti, therefore, maya, by me, saha eva ayam, that same, puratanaha, ancient, yogaha, yoga, adya, today, te, to you, proktaha, has been told. He indeed, etat, this, uttamam, profound, rahasyam, secret. May Me bhaktah sakha cha asi iti maya sah eva ayam पुरातनः योगः अद्य ते प्रोक्तः हि एतत् उत्तमं rahasya. Today, that same ancient yoga has been told to you by me because you are my devotee and my friend. This is indeed a profound secret. The vision of the Veda is that you are Param Brahma and you are the cause of the whole creation. You are not a created being, because all of this is also said in the Gita. The Gita is said to be the essence of the Veda. Gaining this knowledge is the sole destiny of human life. Until one has this knowledge, one is bound to a life of samsara, pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow, birth and death. The Veda, true to its vision, gives you a twofold way, marga, to accomplish this destination. The destination is gaining the knowledge of the self, being Brahman, a knowledge that is unlike any other knowledge. All knowledge requires a certain preparedness. For the knowledge of oneself, one requires emotional maturity. Mere intellectual accomplishment is not enough for a person to be emotionally mature. For example, the greatest scientist in any discipline of knowledge can be emotionally immature. This person may feel that he or she is not at all respected, not recognized by peers and other members of the society. Such a person can have a lot of regrets and become quite desperate. On the other hand, one may be mature and not be intellectually accomplished. When one is able to live with oneself happily, relatively happily, and when one is naturally contemplative, one's maturity has attained a certain completeness. For such a person, a life of sannyasa, renunciation, is advocated by the Veda, wherein the person is formally and completely released from all previously enjoined duties. The Veda that enjoins various duties also releases you from all of them, providing you with the sanction to live a life for renunciate so that you can pursue knowledge of the self to the exclusion of every other thing. Or if you need to gain this inner maturity, you can live a life of karma yoga, pursuing the same self-knowledge that the sannyasi pursues. This is the essence of all the Vedas. When the word when the word yoga is used in the Gita, it refers to jnana yoga for a sannyasi and karma yoga for one who is not a sannyasi. Both of these include the pursuit of self-knowledge. Although this knowledge remains in the royal families and with the sages, the people do not necessarily receive it. This point is addressed by Shankara in his introduction to this verse. He says that the knowledge is as though lost when it reaches people whose minds are scattered. Durbalan ajitendriyan prapya nashtam yogam. Thus it is lost, nashta, due to the condition of the people, not because it is not available. It reaches people who have no inner strength, durbalaha, who are not together, whose minds are scattered, ajitendriyaha. Reaching such people, this yoga also gets scattered, meaning that the knowledge has no hold on them. Therefore, it is as though lost. In this verse, Krishna acknowledges that this knowledge had always existed when he uses the expression sa eva, meaning that yoga alone, that knowledge alone, the twofold knowledge that is never new, puratana. No knowledge is ever new. It is always ancient, perennially eternal. Whatever is discovered may seem new, but in fact, it has always been there. It seems new because no one knew of it before. For example, we did not always know that the sun does not move relative to the earth. Even so, the earth has always traveled around the sun and the sun has always been stationary. relative to the earth. This is a fact that always remains a fact, whether it is known or not. In the same way, this knowledge is something that is Puratana, never new, ancient. Knowledge is always as true as the object is. If the Atma is eternal, then knowledge of Atma is equally eternal. Nothing new is created here. The yoga, the knowledge which was initiated by Krishna in the beginning, is eternal, perennially eternal, Puratanaha. Two types of eternity. There are two types of eternity, perennial eternity and absolute eternity. Absolute eternity is something that has nothing to do with time and is called Paramarthika Nityatva. Whereas perennial eternity is that which keeps on coming with every creation, every kalpa, and is called Pravaha Nityatva. The Veda has Pravaha Nityatva, being not non-eternal in the sense of timelessness. Although the knowledge that is the Veda keeps on coming with every creation, it is still time-bound. Thus, the Veda is considered to be eternal in the perennial sense only. Moreover, why had this perennially eternal knowledge not been given to Arjuna before? Krishna had not held it back. One second. We'll stop in about 2 minutes because Nana is already here. Yeah. Krishna had not held it back all along due to a lack of enthusiasm and only today became inspired to talk to Arjuna about it. The only reason Krishna did not teach him earlier was that until today, Arjuna had not asked for this knowledge. As soon as Arjuna asked for it, Krishna teaches him, although they were in the middle of the battlefield. Those who study the Gita usually take some months to study the second and the third chapters in which Krishna unfolded the knowledge. But Krishna taught to Arjuna in one day, according to Vyasa's presentation. As Krishna himself says, Te adya proktaha. It was told to you today. After all, it takes only 3 hours to repeat the entire Gita. We must remember also that it is not Krishna who is actually talking in this particular verse. In this particular verse form, it is Vyasa. There was no necessity for Krishna to put this knowledge into verse form. Vyasa put Krishna's message in the form of verses as part of the Mahabharata. Being informed enough about the Veda, Vyasa was qualified to present its essence in the Gita. He did not need to have Krishna say anything. Even if Krishna were not there, we would still read Vyasa's Gita, just as we read his Brahma Sutras. Vyasa himself is good enough for us to read because we are reading the Veda, not Krishna or some philosopher like Kant, Schopenhauer, or Hegel. There is no Krishna philosophy. There is only the Veda, the knowledge that comes down to us from the rishis. People often say, having been given some good advice, why did you not tell me this before? I have spent so many sleepless nights over it. In fact, one may not be capable of seeing the wisdom of the advice until sleepless nights have been spent. Arjuna may have felt like chastising Krishna for not giving him this knowledge in the days they were in the forest and had so much time to sit and talk. Instead, here they were on the battlefield, caught between the two forces and surrounded by all the noise, dust, and confusion of war, horses, chariots, elephants, infantry, conches, drums, and orders being bellowed everywhere. Definitely not a very conducive time or place for talking about Vedanta, about the infinite. I think we will stop here. I think I will just read these two paras. Hari Om Nana, if you give us just about a minute, I will just continue these two so that we stop at this topic. You should talk about the infinite only when you have infinite time, when you can sit leisurely on the bank of a river with nothing else to do, or when you are retired and no longer have to go to the office. The Pandavas had just returned from 13 years of exile, 12 of which had been spent in the forest. Surely, Arjuna must have thought that that would have been the right time for Krishna to teach him. He could have gained this knowledge in those 12 years. 12 years is a good period of time for any knowledge to take place. Even Jupiter, whose influence is said to be important in gaining knowledge, takes 12 years to come back to a given house in the zodiac. It is said that in order to master any discipline of knowledge, you must stay with it for 12 years. Arjuna had had just such a period of time handed to him on a platter. He had had a God sent banishment. That was when Krishna should have said to him, "Please sit down and listen to me. I have something to tell you. You grieve for those who should not be grieved for. Ashocyan, Anvashochastvam, and so on." We'll stop here. Hari Om Nana.
Hari Om Nana ji.
Hari Om, everybody.
How are you, Nana?
Very
Hari
fine.
Om, Nana.
How are you people? Happy New Year to all of you.
Happy New Year, Nana.
Thank
Hari
you.
Om, Nana. Thank you.
Hari Om, Nana ji.
Hari Om. Namaste,
Very nice.
everybody, and Happy New Year.
Hari Om, Garu.
Hari Om, Mama. Very nice.
We are energized,
Yeah.
Nana ji.
Good.
Hari Om, Nana ji.
Nana ji, we missed you.
Yeah, good to see all of you once again. It's nearly a month since we last met, is it not?
Yeah, Hari Om Nana ji.
Yeah. Everything okay?
With your blessings, everything fine, Nanaji. We feel you every
How are
day.
your families? How are your health? And how are your children?
Nanaji, everything is fine with your blessings.
Oh, come on. It is all Kitaya's blessings for all of us.
So glad to see you, Nanaji. Dhanyavad.
Glad to be amongst you. Very nice. So you are in the fourth chapter.
How are you, Nanaji? How are you?
I'm very fine.
Back home on the motherland.
Mhm. You are doing the Manana of the fourth chapter now?
Yes, Nanaji.
Ah,
Fourth
good.
chapter.
Very good. Yeah. Continue the good work. What happened?
Yeah. In case we have any questions, we can ask Nana.
If I can, I will answer. Otherwise, I'll leave on Ketaya to come forward and answer.
Nana ji, we
Yes,
were
please.
studying Gita, and yesterday I had a doubt because in the Gita it was third chapter was all about don't have desires, have some control on the desires, right? And I was thinking that even for these positive things like Gita, like Gyan, they become hungry. They want more and more and more. Is that not also a desire?
Ramana,
I will,
can you
I will,
please-
yeah, I will read that out.
yeah,
Dr.
can you-
Renu is saying all of the third chapter.
which chapter?
Third chapter.
Uh-huh.
She says we are asked to control our desires,
Mm-hmm.
but then with respect to spiritual knowledge like Bhagavad Gita and all, there is this hunger to know more and more. Is that also not a desire, is her question.
There is a desire which is a prerequisite for moksha. That is the mumukshutvam. You may call it desire, but that is a very sublime desire to the exclusion of all other worldly desires. That is why it has to be cultivated.
So
Okay?
that is one desire that we have to hold on to. With respect to Swadharma,
Mhm.
in the verse where Swami Krishna says Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha,
Mhm.
and later on in the explanation Swamiji had mentioned doing your job, whatever it is, with an attitude of karma yoga is what is important
Yes,
for antakarana shuddhi. That is the whole purpose of doing karma yoga.
correct.
So what is the relevance of a person finding his swadharma, even if it is any other job he's doing, for instance, for his livelihood, supposing it is not according to his swadharma, but he's having to live his livelihood, but he's doing it with an attitude of karma yoga. Is not that also amounting to antakarana shuddhi? Then why is this emphasis given to swadharma so much?
Why do you say it is not according to Swadharma, but he is doing it for his livelihood?
Like, for instance, there is an artist, for instance, whose swadharma is an artist. His all his swabhava, all his previous samskaras are all goading him to be an artist. But in order to make a livelihood, being an artist is not meeting his two ends, his ends meet. So therefore, he's having to take up another job, say maybe a software engineer or something else. Maybe he's taking something else which is not according to his swadharma. So in such a case, is there a conflict? Because Krishna ultimately says it is with what attitude you do your karma that is important. Why is this
What
dharma given so much
is,
importance?
no, important thing to know is what is understood by the term Swadharma. Swasya Dharma. The Dharma which is applicable to you. If you are striving for your livelihood, it certainly is Swadharma. Because this Shariram Kalu Dharma Sadhanam, and it is your bounded duty to keep the Shariram in good trim so that you continue your pursuits in the path of moksha. For that, the Shariram is an instrument, you will have to protect it all the time. And your striving to have your livelihood assured is part of the Swadharma. That should not be misunderstood. If the artist is not able to meet his requirements and he is on to some other activities, to ensure his livelihood, it is okay. There's nothing wrong in that.
But means that is his Swadharma?
Which one, sir?
The job he has taken,
Yes.
that is his Swadharma or not?
See, the job he has taken for what? What is the purpose? Is he already rich? Is he already rich? His livelihood is assured. In spite of it, he is taking up a job. That is different. Whereas to take care of himself and his members of the family, if he has taken up another job, it is well worth it and it is okay. After having married, it is his bounden duty to assure reasonable livelihood for his wife and the members of his family. And that is part of the Swadharma. No matter how many jobs he may be involved in, that is okay. Like, for instance, the teachers in the schools, what little they get monthly, that may not be adequate. Then they do what? They undertake, the tuition sessions for the students, which gives them a little more money. And that's okay. So nothing wrong in that.
So Nanaji, the Swadharma, is it your aptitude or your profession or your duties as a grahastha? Or is it all of this?
It is your duty as a grahastha. Swadharma. Swasya dharma, your own dharma.
So
It
your
can't be-
aptitude, sorry.
No, it can't be all of them, like you said.
So maybe your aptitude takes, or your skill or your inclination takes the backseat, and then as a grihastha, you prioritize your grihastha as a duty.
What is absolutely required for ensuring your livelihood, you ought to do it. And that becomes part of your Swadharma. Because if you do not do that, you will be failing in your duty. That means the Swadharma is kind of forsaken, which is not right. This Swadharma is often misunderstood, misinterpreted. That should be understood very clearly, Swadharma. What is the dharma of a father? What is the dharma of a mother? What is the dharma of a child, school-going child? What is the dharma of the community supporting the environment? All these things are required to be understood very clearly. That Swadharma keeps on as though changing depending on the role that you adopt. You as a father, when you are working, you are an employee, you are not a father. And you as the father of the child, when it comes to your wife, you are not the father, you are the spouse. So the dharma as though changes. It depends on the role that you are playing. Each role has its own dharma. The same father is also the son to his parents. So, as a son, the Swadharma is different. As a father of your child, Swadharma is different. As a spouse of your spouse, Swadharma is different. This must be understood cleanly. It is like an actor, okay? An actor who keeps on taking different roles. He is not the role. He is himself, okay? He knows he is an actor and he is taking on different roles. None of the roles is indeed he. But the roles will have to be performed. You must stick to the roles perfectly as per the script.
For instance, if the mother, she has a sick child at home, that is the role of a mother. And then she also has another role of, say, a career woman.
What
And
is the other role? What is the other role?
she's a working mother.
Okay.
So when she's a working mother and she's got a sick child at home, so her swadharma there will be taking care of her child. Paradharma will be leaving this child and going to work. Is that how we understand it?
No. For see, to enable you to take care of the sick child, you require the wherewithal to take care of the child. For that you have to work. So that is not in opposition to your role as a mother to take care of the child. It's not in opposition. It is kind of in unison. It is for the sake of your having the capacity to take care of the sick child. You are earning a few chips, and that is fine. There's nothing wrong in that. Because without the few chips that you are earning, there is no way you can take care of the sick child. So you have to understand.
I'm not talking of the whole aspect of her working. I'm talking at that particular day. That particular day, when that morning she wakes up and she finds her child is sick and there's nobody else to take care of the child. I'm giving a hypothetical situation when there's no one else to take care of the sick child. She's the only one. She also has her responsibility of going to work. So between these two, for us to understand, because it's not just Swadharma that Krishna is talking of, he's also mentioned Paradharma. Which is why, so will her Swadharma be, because she has to prioritize her sick child now, a Swadharma of a mother will take upper hand with respect to her Swadharma as a working woman.
At that time, what does the mother think? Which is uppermost in her roles, the two roles as a mother to take care of the sick child, and the other role is as an employee to earn the required livelihood for herself and the sick child, which is more important. Then whatever is more important, that must be adhered to. That's all. It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of picking up the correct choice. Your ability to discern what is important, what is pressing, what is absolutely necessary, and what is required to be subordinated to ensure that what is important is taken care. All these you are required to debate in your mind and come to the correct conclusion. That becomes Swadharma. Kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyatha va api kartum shakyam. You got a choice. And the choice must be served very nicely.
And is that the meaning of karma, yoga karma sukaushalam?
See, look at it. Okay, look at it this way. Supposing you are on the highway and you are driving. And there are beautiful landscape and things like that. You are welcome to enjoy looking at the landscape. But what is important is you will have to be attentive to what you are doing as a driver. That is uppermost. While you take care of your role as a driver, you are welcome to have once in a while having a glance at the landscape. That's okay. But it cannot be only looking at the landscape and forgetting about what is ahead of you as a driver on the freeway. This you will have to understand. And all of us know that clearly. Only thing is, we entertain some doubts, and these doubts are because of what? Lack of manana of these kind of small things. We will have to take care of these small things. Think of them and conclude. Then it becomes easy. Take the case of a surgeon. And the surgeon has got an ailing wife at home. He has attended to her and come to the hospital to take care of a very, very needy patient who requires immediate surgery. Now, the surgeon, when he is doing surgery, if he has his thoughts on his spouse, how well can he perform the surgery? How well? So this is what the Swadharma, he must simply banish the thoughts of his spouse during the time he is doing the surgical operation. He must be totally alert to what is required to be done for the benefit of the patient on whom he is operating, some organ, something. All these things we do almost automatically. Where we don't do, it's because there is a split in our thinking. It's a distorted thinking that should be banished. Any thinking must be absolutely clean.
Thinking with some desire.
Yeah, it is.
That makes the problem.
We put a filter of raga dvesha there. That distorts the thinking. Right?
See, when the surgeon is thinking of his wife during the course of the surgery, then he is yielding to the raga, not yielding to the swadharma. Swadharma is, he has opened the limbs of the patient, and he must attend to that immediately. That becomes Swadharma. Raga is subordinated. Not that he should not have raga. Raga for his wife. That becomes Swadharma, to take care of the ailing wife. It becomes part of Swadharma. He has done that at home and given the medications and things like that, given her the breakfast and attended on her very nicely. And he is very sure he will get back home in time after he has performed the surgical operation. That's all. All of us do this. All of us conform to this kind of a demand in our life, in our roles. Once in a while, very rarely, there may be a conflict in the roles, but that you are required to wisely take care of. Okay, so that may nidhanam shreyaha. Paradharmo yavaha. Elsewhere, it is said, paradharma is anything other than your efforts. Anything other than your efforts, bereft of mumukshutvam, is paradharma. That's also mentioned. If you are acting in your life forgetting Kitaya, forgetting what all he has said for your own benefit, and always being a materialist, that all that becomes paradharma, that becomes bhayavaha. Because you are not doing anything to lift yourself up by yourself. Kitaya said, Udhare datmanatmanam, na atmanam avasadayet. What are you doing in respect of that? You have only listened to what Kitaya said and you are not conforming to what he intended you to come up in life. Udhare datmanatmanam. You have to lift yourself up by yourself. Never do anything to condemn yourself. Never do anything which may come in the way of your self-development. And all that becomes, if you don't understand that, becomes paradharma. That becomes bhayavaha. Because you are staying put to where you are. There's no growth. You have a mind which can think very nicely, but you are incapacitating the same mind. You are inadvertently dulling the mind, which is required for your spiritual progress. Why do you want the spiritual progress? For Akhandanandam. Kitaya said, Anityam Asukham Lokam Imam Prapya Bhajasvamam. This Anityam Asukham Lokam Imam Prapya Bhajasvamam. That's what he said. So do that. That becomes the Swadharma again.
Hari Om.
Yom.
Maigaru,
Ah,
just I wish to say something in this regard. Last few days, the debate or discussion, whatever we would like to call it, was circling around like an example. A particular student is exceedingly well in mathematics and engineering and mechanical kind of the mind brain, his faculties are good, like call it instinctively or from childhood, like that.
what is
But
that?
if
But what?
instinctively,
Ah,
by skill, like from childhood, there has been a natural liking of this particular child from childhood towards mathematics, and a
okay.
little grown up towards engineering kind of a subject, towards mechanical, those kind of a things.
Okay.
And suddenly, without recognizing that, if the parent says nothing doing, you better do only BCom, don't do this. But there what we were thinking is the child's the inborn innate faculties are of ABCD, this engineering, and by nature that child's swadharma or the nature is kind of those faculties, and he should be nurtured in that direction rather than being bent to go into the other direction. This was one topic we discussed. And another thing, another member has brought up, saying a lady who is married, having children. Before having children, the lady was having a job which actually very much suited to her kind of temperament, her personality, her feelings, and her innate skills and education, whatever. But what happened the moment the children came out into the world, then she had to play that role. And even if probably she thought she could have balanced or carried out both, due to certain circumstances, she was made to give up the job and stay at home taking care of the children. That gave a kind of dissatisfaction or a feeling innate, the feeling, the burning desire that I could have done this as well as that. I'm so good at that, I mean the job, but I'm unable to do that. This is one kind of a thing. So the question here was two things. How do we ascertain what is our swadharma? And how do we say, I will do only this, whether it gives me money or not? Because it says, Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha, paradharme bhayavaha. These 3 points, if you can explain, Moigaru, all of us will be having a better understanding of this. One is like, how do we identify what is exactly a swadharma? How do we identify our swadharma? And this nidhanam shreyaha, like for example, I am an insurance guy, but I get a $10,000 job, for example, and somebody says, come into banking, I'll give you 15. But I will go there, I'll be doing a very good job there also. But somewhere in the heart of hearts, I'll feel I am an insurance guy. Where am I? Though I am getting 50% more. Where am I? What am I doing? I will leave the office daily without satisfaction, but with more money. Just on this, Moigaru. Hari Om.
Hari Om. You take the life of Kitaya. How many different kinds of roles he had to conform to? He was the husband of several ladies. Several is not a small figure. That several means 16,008 ladies he was the husband. The 16,000 ladies he picked up when he annihilated that Narakasura fellow, that demon. And all those princesses who were imprisoned by Narakasura, when Narakasura was killed by Kitaya, all those people said, hey Kitaya, you are our husband. We have been waiting for this opportunity, for this day, when we are liberated. We have no other way for our succor. You are our benefactor. You shall marry all of us. And he married all of them. Earlier, he had 8 other wives. Now, it's a very difficult task to take care of one number wife, and what to speak of 16,008. Number one, that is one of his roles, and that is part of his Swadharma. The other role is he was the Pardhasarathi. He was the Pardhasarathi means what? He was the charioteer for Arjuna, and he has to perform that well. He has to ensure that Arjuna has a very good view of the enemy forces whom he has to fight, and he has to steer the chariot in such a way that Arjuna is always benefited. That is another role. The third role is what? When he wanted to ensure that between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, there is absolute peace. There is no need for fighting. There is no need for this kind of Kurukshetra Yuddha. What was his role? He has performed that role admirably well. He has gone to the Hastinapura court and pleaded with Dhritarashtra, pleaded with Duryodhana and the powers that be. But he has not been successful, not because he was lacking in his performance and sticking to the role, etc. Not that, but people who listened to him, they simply did not conform to the advice given by Krishna. It's okay. He has performed his Swadharma, and such a number of roles he had to play. And during the day when he has been the charioteer for Arjuna, and in the evening when the fighting has stopped, he had another role. The other role is to take care of the chariot, keep it in good trim, to take care of the horses who will be leading the chariot, and ensure that the wounds of the horses have been very nicely attended to. Another role. These kind of differing roles and all these things, Kitaya performed very, very appreciably. very admirably. And there was no lacking in his performance of and conforming to the roles that he had to play. If we can emulate him, then all your questions will be answered. The first question you raised was the child who was very adept in mathematics and some other engineering sciences, etc. And his parent has asked him, no, you do BCom, none of these things. That is, it's a failing on the part of the parent. You cannot rub it on the child. It is a failing on the part of the parent who has not recognized the talent of the child. That is the different thing. The other thing is that lady you said, who before she started having children, she was working and she was very efficient in her work, things like that, and enjoyed working. Later on, when she got into the way of the family growing with a lot of children, etc., she had to give up the job. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. She has appreciated that her role as a mother is more important than her role as an employee. That's okay. It's always a pick of the appropriate choice that you have to make in life. There could be a conflicting situation, but how well you can resolve the conflict, it depends on you. It depends on your ability to resolve the conflicts. Okay? That becomes a swadharma. Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha, paradharmo bhayavaha. Paradharma, anything which is inappropriate becomes paradharma. Anything which is appropriate at that time and for that role, that is swadharma. Okay?
Nanaji, and what is our role in our Swadharma pertaining to the society? If something going wrong over there, should we be just focusing on ourselves or should we take some steps to correct things around?
What do you think?
I feel I should make an effort at least. If I cannot correct it, at least I should be doing some effort to correct it. Because I feel it very strongly, Nanaji.
Are you a social reformer? Or are you a mother? Or are you a wife? Or are you an employee? What is your predominant role?
Can we balance all these roles?
You, yeah, you can have, but doing a little bit in respect of each role. But what is that role you will have to always conform to? That is very important. Now, in this Zoom class, we have been discussing very nice things, okay, things which Kitaya has given us, and we're debating all those things. That is the role where all of us are playing. At this time, we do not think that we are going to be a social reformer. We do not think we will have to accomplish the tasks that the job has given us very nicely. None of those things will be in our mind. What is uppermost in our mind is to understand what Kitaya is saying. Is it not? The roles depend on the time at which you will have to accomplish the role also. Not only the roles keep on changing, and that will dictate your swadharma, and at different times you will have to do different things. This must be understood.
Yeah, thank you, Nanaji. I mean, this has been in our mind, and thanks to Brahmaraji to bring it out, Swadharma. It was very much in our mind.
Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha. Nidhanam is death. In the performance of Swadharma, even death is to be preferred. Because paradharma bhayavaha. It is frightening. Paradharma is very, very frightening.
So
that
is
should be
spontaneous action Swadharma? Being spontaneous in your action,
Yes.
are you conforming to Swadharma?
It depends on the spontaneity is applicable to who? A person who is generally discerning, or a person who is very rash in his approach in life. It depends on that. The spontaneity, see, take the case of a drunkard. He will be spontaneously gravitating towards the place where drinks are available. Do you grant that as an okay activity? So the spontaneity depends on to which person it is applicable. Okay.
Spontaneity conformance with dharma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hari Om Nanaji.
Yes.
Hari Om.
Brahmaraji, it's okay if I ask
Of course,
one
please.
question?
Why not? Of course, go ahead and ask. In fact, I was wanting to bring up your question only, Madhuri. Good.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead
please,
and
you please go ahead.
no, go
Please.
ahead and ask. You're the right person to ask. Go ahead.
Actually, I don't know if I will be able to put it in the proper way. My question is actually how the trends are changing now since last few years. And the girls are very much encouraged to pursue their careers and a good income in all aspects. They are really blossoming very well. At the same time, the nature has provided them with some responsibility, and at the right age, they need to perform all those duties also. So, balancing act is becoming difficult for young girls, newly married girls, and all, and they are more and more leaning on the elder generation for support system and for everything. So sometimes this age group of ours who are having the young girls as daughters and all, it's becoming very difficult. This is the age for us to really little bit bend towards vanaprasthashram and beyond our family responsibilities, take bigger seva services to the society, and at the same time spiritual more bending is the time for us to be in that and pursue that more. But because of the younger generation's pressures, the elder generation is taking the responsibility of parenting the small babies, and it's a pressure from the younger generation for the elders to be in the family duties more. So how to really balance it? That imbalance is very predominant in the society now, and we all will be in that age group moving that into that direction.
But the question is, in doing what will you be happy? What all you have said, in doing what all, or in picking up and doing a particular thing, will you be happy? Like you as, say, a grandmother will have to take care of the child of your child. And your child is very busy in the employment pursuits and things like that, hardly has any time for her own child. So you are forced to take care of your grandchild. Are you happy doing that?
I think so.
If you're happy doing
Sometimes
that, continue doing that. And if you're happy with your child, performing her roles as an employee elsewhere, if you're happy with that, so be it. There's nothing wrong in that. This is a kind of an influence of the times. Say some 30 years back, when you were of the age of your child who is now employed, perhaps you were okay being at home and not employed, taking care of your family requirements, and you were happy doing that. It's a force of times. That has an influence on how people will have to be. That's okay.
okay, Nanaji.
Nanaji,
Yes, please.
Shraddha and Viveka, these two qualities are inborn in the everyone, or that be polished or made it stronger with our effort?
Yeah. You can enhance the Shraddha, and you can have more discerning attitude. That becomes your Viveka. Both are in your hands. That becomes a Purushartha. While one is born with a modicum of Shraddha, that element of Shraddha with which one is born, that can be polished, certainly. That becomes a Purushartha. You are appropriately using your free will in the correct direction. It's required.
Hari Om Nanaji.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Any work which we are doing, if we do not have the guilt doing it, then we will believe it that it is Swadharma. Can we take this way?
It depends on how sensitive you are. You are generally given to being insensitive. Okay? And later on, that role you are performing, you are happy with that role. And you, as an insensitive person, is not aware of what is required by you to be done. You are so insensitive that you do not know what is required of you. When such is the case, what you said will not apply. It applies to people who are generally discerning, who are generally discriminating, who are generally given to be wise. It's not given to everybody.
The people who have the knowledge, the self realization, only it is related to those people only.
Yes, I will give you an example. Supposing you, as a mother, you are doing your daily chores, and there, right in front of you, a child has been dancing, going round and round in circles and enjoying what the child is doing. And very near where the child is dancing, there is a fireplace. Suppose I'm just inventing an example. A fireplace on which a big pot of water is set to boil, and the child keeps on going round and round and round, okay, dancing, and without the child's knowledge, the child falls on that pot, on that fireplace. And you, as a lady, okay, you need not be the mother of the child. You are a lady, and you have been witnessing what the child is doing. And you have been witnessing also that the child is very dangerously approaching the place where the pot of water is set to boil. Now, what is your instinctive approach regarding the child? If you are sensitive, you will simply run to the child and move the child away from the fireplace. If you are insensitive, you will be as though enjoying the child dancing. And when the child falls on the fireplace, on the pot, and keeps on rolling in the hot boiling water, then what do? Don't you go pick up the child and cry for help? That shows your sensitivity. If you continue doing what you are doing, you are absolutely insensitive. This kind of a thing I have just now invented because of your question. Sensitivity is uppermost in deciding whether your Swadharma is right or wrong.
Thank you, Nanaji.
Yeah.
It's like
So
it's
basically, the more
karuna.
sattvic we are, sorry, go ahead,
Yeah.
Savita ji.
No, it's I was just saying that the sadhaks would be having the karuna bhav in them.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you, Nanaji.
And that karuna must be spontaneous. Earlier, Brahmara happened to say, if it is spontaneous, is it okay? This spontaneity is a natural spontaneity. This karuna, love, all these are very spontaneous. Good.
So basically, the more sattvic your Shraddha is, the more human values you're able to exhibit in your life and express in your life, you are more, you're closer to your Swadharma, isn't it?
Yeah, right, very right.
The more you're moving away from human values, you're doing paradharma.
Yeah. That is one. Secondly, assuming that you are a sensitive person, you are a person who is capable of thinking properly and deciding about what you need to do in respect of your Swadharma very nicely, granting all these things are there. After you have accomplished a thing, if you do not feel guilty, then it's what you have done is okay. After you have done a thing, if you feel guilty, that means there is some lack in you. There is something which you could have taken care of, which you failed. These are the pointers for us for our self-development. For this, you want to be sensitive. For an insensitive person, everything is okay. And that's how it is.
Nanaji,
yes.
in case somebody is killing an animal to have as a food, and I am very sensitive towards the life, or I might want to follow ahimsa, and then what is my role in this? Should I go and tell the person not to kill the animal?
Okay. Now, are you a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian?
I used to cook non-vegetarian, but I have turned total vegetarian now.
You are total vegetarian now. And what are all the vegetables you take?
Almost all.
Almost all. When any vegetable you take, it is separated from the mother plant, is it not?
Yes, Nanaji.
Okay. Supposing you are taking greens, You are fond of greens because they enhance your iron content and things like that. Hemoglobin will be assured to be okay. So you are very fond of greens. And the greens you pluck away from the mother plant, is it not? Do you think it is himsa or ahimsa?
Is kind of himsa.
It is kind of himsa, but you are a vegetarian and you are getting upset with another person, a non-vegetarian fellow, okay, killing a hen, for instance, for having his own food that he likes. You are upset with that. Is it not?
Yes, Nanaji.
So that means you got grades of himsa. Grades of himsa. As you are breathing, you are inhaling a lot of microbes, and all those microbes are dying inside your body. Are you doing himsa or ahimsa? So it's a way of looking at things pragmatically.
Aigaru, here I have a question.
Look at it this way. Supposing a lion is there, what is the food for the lion?
Any other animal.
Another animal. The lion has to kill that other animal to assure its own livelihood, is it not?
Yeah.
And that goes on. Now,
but Maigaru, human beings have a choice, kada? Animal, yes, it is programmed that way. A lion is programmed to kill a deer or a zebra or whatever to eat. What the question I think here is that as human beings, as someone who has the vichakshana, you have a choice of eating vegetarian instead of non-vegetarian, just to satisfy your the taste of your tongue. Do you need to kill an animal to eat? Otherwise, there is a huge vegetable market. You can eat multiple other choices, Adi.
Now, Prem, listen. If all the some 8 or 9 billion people in the world, all of them suddenly decide to be vegetarian, suppose the world is capable of providing them enough vegetarian food, will not some set of billions of people go very hungry because the vegetarian food is not available for all? It's a matter of looking at things. It is because of the non-vegetarians you are having adequate vegetables. Suppose I look at it that way. If everybody is a vegetarian and nobody takes any non-vegetarian food, not even eggs, the supply of vegetarian food in the world may be totally inadequate. Did you ever think of that?
But can that be a valid reason? You need to think of an alternative, grow more vegetables.
No. You got a choice. You got to see. I'll tell you. Each and every one is born with a set of raga dveshas. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody is born with a set of raga dveshas. Icha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata. Sarge yante parantapa. At the time of birth, all these people are smeared with those set of raga dveshas. If somebody has got a raga for non-vegetarian food, you need not find fault with him. You need not say that he has got a choice of filling his belly with vegetarian food only. He likes that non-vegetarian food. It's like you are liking Western music and I liking Carnatic music, suppose. It's a matter of your likes and dislikes, with which both of us were born. It's okay. Life is the way we look at it. in the way we live if we do not harm anybody else. It's okay.
Dr. Renu has a question, Nana. Let me read it out. It's in the chat.
Yeah.
So, Nanaji, so much to learn Gita and many, many more scriptures. Let me just read it out. Is it better to read one, for example, one shloka and read it, absorb it, and use it practically, make it part of our life, rather than spending more time trying to acquire this vast sea of knowledge? Our hunger for spiritual knowledge is never ending, so we want to learn more and more. But is it not more important to use it in life?
Very right. Very, very right. One is good enough. One sloka is good enough. If you can totally live that essence of the sloka, that is good enough. There is a verse in praise of the Gita. Gita Sugita Kartavya Kimanyai Shastra Vistaraihi. Where is the need for extensive other Shastras? Simple. This Bhagavad Gita alone is good enough. Gita, Sugita, Gita, this song, very well sung. Kartavya, it is required to be conformed to. Kartavya, it becomes your bounden duty to live the tenets of the Gita. Kartavya, Kimanyaihi Shastra Vistaraihi. And if you understood that very nicely, in the Gita, there are several slokas. The one sloka, Ashotyan and Mashochastam. Unnecessarily you are grieving for that which does not deserve any grief. If you can live that sloka, that's wonderful. That alone is good enough. Nothing else is required. You need not go to the other, 699 slokas. Out of the 700 slokas, this alone is good enough. If you can appreciate the essence of that and live that. Another sloka, Vyavasayatmika buddhihi ekeha kurunandana. Only that. Don't allow your mind to keep on unnecessarily frittering its energies in different kinds of pursuits and thoughts. Only what is beneficial to you, you only conform to that. You do only that, nothing else.
Thank you. Thank you. Understood.
One sloka is good enough. If you can live that. Because we are unable to live that, we are taking the help of other slokas which are supportive of the first sloka you have picked up. So that our belief in the veracity of the sloka is enhanced. That is how we keep on chanting chapter after chapter after chapter. What is important is to live what is meant by one sloka. That is good enough. Ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyaischaran atmavasher vidheyatma prasadam adhigachyati. In the second chapter, Ragadvesha viyuktaistu, if you are combating the Ragadveshas very nicely, and you are freed from the influence and the power of these Ragadveshas, you will be leading a very useful life, fruitful life. That is what the essence of the verse is. If you can live that, beautiful. Like that, there are several slokas. Any one is good enough.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good point. All right. Yeah, wishing all of you very well and very happy life in this new year. I'm especially very happy to be in a position to meet all of you again. And Kitaya permitting, we'll meet again a little later. Okay?
Looking forward seeing you more often, Nanaji.
Okay, we'll see.
Dhanyavad.
Thank you,
Dhanyavad.
Nana.
Hari
Yeah.
Om.
We hope to have
Om.
some sessions
Hari
from you
Om.
soon, Nana, based on your
Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayah. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om, all of you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Nana.
Happy to
Thank
tell
you,
you,
Nana.
Nana,
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
lot
much.
Nana.
lot of us are chanting the Bhagavad Gita, one chapter at least every day. Today we come to chapter 17.
Very
And
good.
this is
I
the
think
third
fourth round.
cycle,
This is the
right?
fourth round, I think. Fourth round.
Fourth round?
Very good.
Fourth round.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Nana and I am happy to share with all of you that I'm staying here right now with Nana. And we did all the three Shatkas over the last few days. And yesterday we did the whole Gita together.
Wow.
So
Oh,
that was a
very
wonderful opportunity. And
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dhanyavad.
Good. Hari Om, everybody.
Hari Om, Nana.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Nanaji. Hari Om.
Dhanyavad.
Hari Om.
Nanaji.
So grateful, Brahmaraji. We got
That was
so
wonderful.
clear
Yeah.
answers for
I
our
think we
life.
should have such sessions at least every other week, or maybe we'll find out how Nana's schedule is. He's just settling down in India right now. So,
See, as told Ramanaji, that
yes.
Swadharma is responsibility.
Mm.
So we take that responsibility, value of responsibility, in the basic course. That itself is a Swadharma. So the
And we were under the
responsibility
impression, we were under the impression it is fixed, but it's changing moment to moment, role to role. And he gave an example of a car when you are driving a car. So I was just thinking, every time you have this question, what should I do? Just think that which car you are driving. Are you driving a mother's duty as a car, or as an employee, or whatever role you have taken, that becomes a car, and do that well. You can look around, but you are sitting in that car now. So do that properly. That was beautiful. A lot of clarity on Swadharma, because whole of this chapter, we had this dilemma. At least I had this dilemma. What is Swadharma?
Dhanyavad, Mrinalji, for asking on all of us behalf. That was a dilemma, and that we are now guilt-free.
No, I was just a little hesitant. And this question was coming so strongly in my mind. I should ask, but I was feeling hesitant because Nanaji would say, after reading so much of Gita, you are asking, after reading Ramayana, you would say, who is Sita? I mean, you still don't know your Swadharma. That's why I was hesitant, but Brahmaraji initiated, and it was good.
No, even if we are doing anything, if we think, what would the Lord think about us, rather than thinking what others think about us, that itself will make a big difference, right?
Yeah.
Anything we do, what is the Lord going to think about it? Do it for the Lord if that's possible. If that's not possible, at least go down to the level of thinking, what would the Lord think if I were to do this?
No, Nanaji told no once, are you happy doing that job? When Madhuriji asked about the grandmother role, are you happy for doing that? That itself will show the Swadharma. So anything, whatever
This
you
is very important. I think this. Are you happy that whole thing has shifted in my mind actually, and it is at a it can be a very personal decision and personal this thing, that how I am going to balance, which direction I want to take my life forward. Though the pressures will be different with the timings, but still Swadharma, this the whole Gita, this thing will always remain the base. And certain things, as the times change, you need to take the decision spontaneously, and it is very individual. Like though we are seeing the way the things are going on around us, but
the same.
definitely balance act can be done, I think so. So it is a
Same.
beautiful. Are you
I will
happy
just
doing
give
that
one
is
example.
most important.
I will just give one example here. While working in the slums in South Bombay, I found that due to the political pressures of some political parties, the slum children would get admission into very good schools. But at home, they speak their mother tongue. And in school, the teachers speak in English. And they are very intelligent, but because they have come in through pressure, the teachers also have some kind of this thing abhorrence towards them. They don't treat them well. They would not like to have them in the school. So what I did was, see, all work you cannot do on your own. So I found a lot of college students who were also involved with art of living. And there I told them, if those who could honestly give 1 hour seva on a Sunday, and for 1 hour they would go and teach them maths and science and all that, and they all came up to the mark. So maybe we are interested, we would be happy to see these children progress. But all the work we cannot do ourselves. We can delegate it to people around us. Just like Dr. Brahmra said just now, the Sangha, the effect of Nanaji, being with Nanaji, they went through so many satkas and now they did the entire Gita on their own. I mean, it's the power of the Sangha, nothing else over there. So that you get people, the skill set lies in getting people to do what you delegate them to do. And they were so happy with it, they even took them to the museum thereafter, these children, and it just required that 1 hour's efforts for these children to come up to the mark just once a week. So I tell you, whatever we feel that we need to be happy doing, we can find people around us who will do it. In the slums, I started the sewing machine project, got professional teachers to teach the ladies stitching, evening classes. And after that, they could earn a livelihood. And we went out to malls and hotels and got orders for them for their, the laundry bags, the slipper bags, the newspaper bags. All these orders are recurrent. So we got that for them. And then they could also stitch garments for whatever locally they could get. But everything had to be organized. Now there are volunteers who have taken it further and they have started this refined oil instead of refined oil, Ghani Ka Tel project, the recycling sanitary pad project. And now we are just making, the presentation is coming up for the recyclable batteries. So there are so many other people now. I have led by example and now other people are doing the job. I need not be doing the job on the side myself, is what I'm saying.
I want to emphasize on that grandmother and grandfather, to look at. So we were there in US for 6 months, taking care of our grand. Okay. So what I used to do is, whenever I get up, I used to call him Vithala. See, he is my God. I used to serve him. I used to play with Vithala. With that bhavana, you play with it, you are already in the path, you see. So everything, whatever you do, if you do it heartily, you are not losing your Swadharma. So I am playing with the boy, and now whenever he sees me now, connecting with the ears, Tata, Vithala, he says. He only tells me Vithala. So both the things have been involved in it. You took the care of a child, you took as if he is Vithala. You are on the path, and happy. Both are happy. So anything can be converted into sadhana when you put your 100% into it.
Yeah, and individual, it is a very personal and individual and family orientation. It depends on our decisions, I feel. But I was sharing the general tendencies which are happening with the youngsters. They are avoiding now to have, they are so much into that. They want more luxury, more comforts, more enjoyment. Just
Yeah.
kaam karo, paisa kamao, enjoy karo. So the trend is little bit shifting. That's why I wanted to share.
But here, na
this
Madhuri,
very-
I just want to share one thing that we learned from Rajima. Rajima, she had a question answer session with respect to the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So when people were asking questions, she would redirect them, refocus them, saying, you ask things that are relevant to you right now. Don't ask me something that XYZ is going through. That is not relevant to you at all. So what is relevant to you, what you are going through? She would specifically question that. She says, don't give me a hypothetical situation. What is happening to you? That is your answer. So that, I think that way we'll get all our energies into focus, that vyavasayatmika buddhi will develop. Otherwise, all our energies might just get frittered away, isn't it?
Correct,
So
correct.
I would urge, I mean, I think I've shared the Rajima's Bhagavad Gita links. Maybe one of these days we should all watch that one more time. The precious
Yes,
knowledge.
yes, Raji. Rajima's very
So
important.
that will give us an insight. So, and again, before we conclude, I just wanted to share this respect to the lot of discussion we had yesterday with respect to grandmother and how children are. Will the grandmother be guilty or not guilty if she did not take care of the grandchild at that point? If she's left with that guilt, then she pretty well go ahead and do what is. See, if ultimately the grandchild turns out to be a drug addict or something else, would she be happy? No. I would think if I'm placed in such a situation, I'm the grandmother, and if I think my daughter or my son are unduly, pushing their children's responsibilities onto me, it will be my duty to let them see what their responsibilities as a father, mother is. Then I will educate, and then I will continue to do what I'm supposed, what I'm there to do. So I would, I mean, that would be my approach. So I think, but then again, we're only going around and round on some hypothetical thing. I think, like what Sureshji said, Swadharma is ultimately where you are responding to a given situation, taking that full responsibility, total responsibility, doing it 100%. Like what Nana has also mentioned, Krishna was doing, he performed several roles, but every role he was doing 100%. So I think that boils down. The whole thing is about responding to any situation spontaneously according to dharma, not according to adharma. That becomes not responsibility. So total responsibility, doing your 100%, living in the moment, that is Swadharma. And I think everything else becomes Paradharma.
Oh, Brahmra, here the thing is,
Jai
okay,
Gurudev.
Okay.
We will wind
Okay.
up in about
I
5
had
minutes.
a,
So I think we'll keep it short.
Jai Gurudev, Brahmradi, I had to say something. I don't know if I'm right. Like we are doing a Swadharma, and if we surrender to God and say, I'm doing this And if you're surrendering, then the guilt doesn't come. Can it be worked this way?
I mean, ultimately, whatever consequence it is, you take it. You're surrendering to God only, right? So that is the whole aspect of karma yoga. So I didn't quite understand what you meant by surrender there.
No, that again boils to the, are you happy?
But your karma has to be in line with dharma.
Yeah.
See,
it is all Shastra Vihita karma. That is what is important right from the beginning. That is what even China had mentioned. That is what Nana has mentioned. That's what Krishna mentions. Whatever that spontaneous action we're talking of, that responding to a situation should be in accordance with dharma. Like it cannot be like the example of the alcoholic. He's also spontaneously moving towards the wine shop. That is not swadhar. That doesn't become spontaneous action. So Simi, I'm not sure whether your question is answered because I didn't quite get your, when you said you do your swadharma and surrender to God. That is
I said when one is doing one's swadharma and there are a lot of things to be done at the same time. So you just at that point of time surrender to the Lord and say whatever you'll make it happen will be on the right direction. And then do the dharma as whatever your inner voice says that. Is that the right way?
Yeah, I think if you have too many things to do, you have to prioritize. This is what China had mentioned. You prioritize whichever is the role uppermost that is required, you go ahead and do that. And in
Because
all of that, he said uppermost should be mumukshutva. That is what Nana also mentioned. He said all of this can be there, but your mumukshutvam should be your uppermost purushartha. You keeping
that is what whatever since yesterday, whatever I'm.
But that can be also included, Madhuri. I would agree with you saying mumukshutvam, but mumukshutvam, following mumukshutvam does not mean relinquishing your duty there at that point and going and sitting and reading, some scriptures. No, at that point, your yajna bhava is itself mumukshutvam. It's itself purushartha there. It is an attitude in your mind. Ultimately, it is an attitude in your mind. It is not what you are doing. It is how you're doing it. What is your inner attitude? When you're doing it as a yajna bhav, taking care of your grandchild, even if it is 24/7, it will convert it into a beautiful karma yoga. I mean, it is karma yoga, isn't it? So there's so much, rather than fretting and fuming and taking care of your grandchild, saying, oh my, I'm being thrust upon this. That is it's a waste of time, complete waste of time. So I think all that we have to do, keeping mumukshutvam in mind, is to chisel, fine tune our attitude towards whatever we're doing.
So even if you have
at the same time, this one example, suddenly how come like so many things are going on in my mind and how to really channelize ourselves in the coming times. And a beautiful example came up in front of my house only. That lady is little bit elder to me, and her children, one daughter is married. She is in Abu Dhabi, and the son is in Canada. But she said, Ki, I am not the solution for your child. I will come for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, but then you have to find out some permanent solution for your child, for some support system. So, and very beautifully, she has seen to it that when she visits Canada, she told her son also, Ki, make arrangement for my visit to the Montreal ashram, and I want to spend one whole week doing seva there. So how she is like fulfilling her duties also, visiting her son and spending time, and then balancing the seva and getting it done through the son also. So I said, if you want to, you can really balance all the aspects very beautifully and make them also feel responsible for their own commitments at the same time.
Very
They
true.
cannot
Ultimately, it's a
shove it.
balancing act.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful.
Yeah,
This
That's
thing.
thank
why
you,
Gurudev,
Pramradi.
yeah, that is why Gurudev said it is like how
Thank
you
you.
ride a cycle, no?
Making
Yeah.
them also feel
Yeah,
responsible.
thanks, Dee.
Young generation also, they are responsible for elder generation also, and for the coming kids also. Yes, we will be there around to support you, but at the same time, see to it that the first thing you should not put everything on the elder generation and sit and aram se nahi chalega. So I think
Yeah.
balancing act is the only answer, and whatever comes, take it. Are you feeling happy with that? That can become your karma yoga and yadna bhava. Jai Gurudev.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you
Gurudev.
so much of learning to prioritize our duties and do it accordingly. That becomes our Swadharma.
Yeah. So shall we wind up here today? We had a very good 2-hour session today.
Thank you so much, Jai
Yeah,
Gurudev.
it was nice. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.